Alright, so I've only got like an hour in which to finish this. I've probably already called this video something stupid like Pokemon Ramble, uh, because it's what I was going to call it on Twitter. So, yeah, I'm just kind of here to give my thoughts on the Direct that came out last week, because things have died down a little since then, and yeah, I just feel like it needs to be talked about. I know I've mentioned some things here and there, but like an overarching thing that probably needs to be mentioned. So I've got it pulled up. I've got closed captions turned on and the video muted, and I'll probably cut out the moments of me just like staring. So okay. First and foremost, I remember that they started off with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX, and I don't have a lot to talk about with that. I'm excited that we're getting Rescue Team brought back, because that was a lot of fun personally. Ever. I've said this a couple times as well. The one thing I'd see that I do not like is the art style just looks really bad to me personally. I know that's a personal thing. Yeah, here it is. Um, so the models for this have hard borders, and the background looks very different. I just kind of realized that one of the things that might be throwing me off is the lack of shadows, which once again makes them feel like they're not there, because they differ so much from the art style with how they look. It's hard to see them as part of the space there. That's for the cutscenes. Let's see. What does it look like for... Yeah. That's what the overworld looks like in general. The Pokemon just look wrong. Okay. Gengar's probably the best example of that. Gengar in this trailer, and Pinsir and Rhyhorn. Those three right there are probably the best examples of that, because they don't look like they're stacked on top of any other Pokemon either. Ombre back there still, and it doesn't look like that Rhyhorn's stacked on top of anyone. Which, yikes. But, I guess not all of them have it bad, but a lot of them seem... Let's see here. They don't look too bad in the actual dungeons, at least. But it's very much a, like, the cutscenes are all wrong kind of deal. They are adding megas into the game. Probably means they'll be adding potentially Gigantamax forms and potentially Z-move. Potentially. I don't know if they will or not. Since what is it, in Super Mystery Dungeon, it's like you have them equip a bracelet that they have to find in the dungeon. Or no, they equip like a gem into a bracelet that they find in the dungeon, the gem specifically. And it disappears when they leave the dungeon, that's what it is. Meanwhile, this one, you use a seed and you Mega Evolve, which probably means that goes away after a certain frame of time, or when you go to the next floor. And again, that'd be a post-game thing, since all Mega Evolutions are final evolutions, and you cannot get any fully evolved Pokemon until beating the game. That. Okay. So I think that's just about everything with Rescue Team DX wrapped up, because there's not a lot to talk about with that. Let's see. Yep, and then they went to the announcement of the DLC, which I still haven't played Sword and Shield, so I don't have any real opinions on the game itself. But I like where they're going with this. This is the entire reason I wanted to do this video. I like where they're going with the concept of like the DLC adding more content onto the original game as opposed to having us buy a new game, go through the entire story again for no real reason. And also it's cheaper than buying a new game outright because it's half the price of a regular game in this market. So I also like how they mentioned Platinum and then Ultra. I don't know how much Ultra Sun and Moon actually added onto Alola. Black and White 2 did a lot, but not all of it was good. I don't like the White Forest specifically. And aside from that, like, it was a massive overhaul. And then Crystal, Emerald, and Platinum, I don't think added a whole lot to the original game, but, you know, here we are. They were still fun at least. So, the entire concept. Sorry. Okay, let me just follow through slowly and see if I can figure out anything specific about what's been going on. Just because I forget things easily. Let's see here. So let's see, we've got Mega Venus, or not Mega, but G-Max, Venusaur, and Blastoise. We've got Inteleon and Rillaboom. Can't quite tell what that is back there. Oh, that's the psychic type NPC. And the whatever her name is. Galarian Slowpoke. See, we got a new symbol for the gyms. Old mustard there. Let's see. Not a whole lot showing that I'm personally interested in the Isle of Armor aside from that. Like new NPCs. Let's see, we've got new Pokemon. Their models are returning. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I actually wanted to rewind. Let's see here. Volcarona, Kingdra, Dedenne, Lycanroc. See the Gigantamaxes. And then they're showing the Gigantamax forms of the starters. How would you get those? Because if you need to capture them, that means they're basically less valuable than the starters. Solely because you do not go through your entire journey with them. Yeah, they're doing Crown Tundra now. See that there's a graveyard that they're showing, which means we're going to be getting a lot of ghost types in Crown Tundra, which I'm okay with. Let's see. I think this is the one that's honestly, yeah, I think this is the one that's grabbing my attention most, because we've got the new Reggies, we've got, yeah, Galarian Slowking looks like a vampire. Aurorus, Nidorino, Stelio, Garchomp. And then the, it looks like Galarian versions of the birds. Like, seriously, those look like Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos, so like, that's kind of nice. And then they're going to show Calyrex. their icon for the Crown Tundra as well. I think the one for the Isle of Armor is supposed to be the bear. Or sheep, or whatever. But it doesn't look like that, if memory serves. Let's see. Yeah, they don't have like the shoulder pads, so I don't know what's up with that. No, it looks like they might. Okay. Yeah. I wonder what that guy's doing in the tundra though. That's the one that gets me. Isle of Armor is going to be available in June, and then Tundra is going to be sometime in the fall. Yeah. Probably going to be the holiday season when that comes around. Going to be November again. Although if they need to push that back December, they should go right ahead and do that, because Game Freak seriously does need to spend more time on general stuff. I'm glad that they're doing more for Sword and Shield, because the games, like, people are saying they feel rushed. So maybe adding more content would help negate that rushed feeling potentially. Not really. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling through ahead. See, Isle of Armor is supposed to have a very varied landscape in the grand scheme of things. I like there's a specific moment where they say how many Pokemon are supposed to be added in the DLC, and I thought that they said 200 per DLC. So I'm going to keep looking till I find that, of course. Let's see. We've got Mustard, we've got Avery, and we've got Clara. I don't know why she uses poison. It looks more like fairy, I guess. I guess they don't want to typecast, but Fu or Shifu, which I'm definitely going to be going for the water type one. Fighting Dark is just a weird set. For me personally, at least. Let's see here. So it looks like that means in the Isle of Armor. I'm just double checking what it's saying. It looks like the starters will actually be the ones getting the Gigantamax forms, like the ones you start with will be the ones getting it. Which I'm okay with, but I don't know if other people will be. Of course, I want them to get rid of like specific Pokemon being able to Gigantamax and instead just max out that Dynamax. I don't know if it's a stat or a meter or what, but if they max that out, any Pokemon that can Gigantamax, like any of them that have that ability in their species can. That'd be something they should do. And again, move tutors, experience charm, which basically like the EXP shear. Sure, you can't turn that off. And the Apricorns are being brought back, which I'm excited for because Apricorn Pokeballs are aesthetically pleasing. Well, they're useful, but they're aesthetically pleasing. Let's see. New looks for the bike, new looks for the characters. I don't care. So I think the one that I'm most excited for is going to be Crown Tundra, because that's, as they're saying, exploration based. Let's see here. Ba-ba-bum. Yeah, because they're only talking about how it's winter themed and yeah, okay. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, psychic grass type. Which I'm glad they're going to be adding in new legendaries and not having them be event exclusive. I like that. That's something they need to get rid of. Of course, they're still doing event Pokemon in some way, shape, or form because of the event Gigantamax. Dumb, but do. Let's see, Crown Tundra will have new co-op. Let's hope they fix the online for Pokemon Sword and Shield, because apparently it's laggy as fuck. See, all the new Pokemon are supposed to be able to be automatically brought onto the game, so if one doesn't have the DLC, they'll use the new Pokemon. All of the legendaries are coming back. God. That's the last thing anyone wanted to hear, I'll be honest with you. Because we don't do that. Let's see. Okay. And then both DLC areas are going to be almost all wild area. So once again, I hope they fix the online for people. Let's see here. I'm waiting to see if they actually mention how many Pokemon appear. Okay. You'll see some familiar Pokemon that didn't appear in Galar before. More than 200 Pokemon species that appear in these areas. Okay, so it's 200 plus total between the two DLCs. Okay. Now, I'm going to go in and double check some information real quick. I think that's going to put that at 600 or so. Let's see, the Sword and Shield Pokedex. Nope, that's yeah, that's going to be about 600. Okay. Let's go grab the Ultra and the X and Y Pokedexes. Let's see. Ultra had 400 as well. Many of them were legendaries, including the Ultra Beasts and Tapus and all that. Let's see here, and then Kalos. I need to pull out the calculator for this because they broke all of the Pokedex up into 3 areas for no goddamn reason. Like, there's no, like, total number. It's like, hey, here's one area, here's one area, here's one area. I think they all have 153. Oh, nope, that's 151, okay. So, 457. Kalos had the most Pokemon in it, as far as I remember. I'm gonna double check that, of course. Yeah, from the way things are looking, I'm also gonna grab Omega. Check that number. Jesus. 211 for Hoenn, which is not surprising. 300 for Black and White 2. And many of them are, once again, legendary Pokemon. Because there are a lot of legendaries in Unova. And then Platinum, 210. Heart Gold and SoulSilver, 256, and a lot of them are legendary. So yeah, this is absolutely going to be the most Pokemon that are available in the same game. It's like, that's, like I said, 600 plus Pokemon. Of course, the problem people had originally was not that there were only 400 Pokemon in the regional Pokedex, it's that you couldn't bring new stuff that wasn't part of that Pokedex into the game. Well, now, we're seeing that Pokemon can be brought in. Once those DLCs are fully launched, those Pokemon will be able to be brought in from Pokemon Home, or traded in some other way with someone else. I'll guarantee you once that DLC comes out, there's going to be a lot of people spamming Wonder Trade for these newly released Pokemon. So that's going to be fun. Hopefully I'll be able to get a Switch before this comes out, but I highly doubt it at this point. If so, I do want to try and record Sword and Shield stuff. Or stream it, rather. Because this kind of thing is kind of the only thing I'm going to be able to be posting in terms of recorded content. So, low efforts, no editing involved, like 20 minutes, just me talking to you. So, I don't know if I've got much else to say. I'm glad the Apricorns are coming back. Glad they're changing up the business model for how the Pokemon games are set up. Where they've still got the two versions. They've got version exclusive trainers now, which but aside from version exclusive NPCs, I think Ultra did that. Kind of. Ruby and Sapphire kind of did that as well. But that was just a role reversal. I think anything really changed about the characterization. Think of any other game that had like two versions where one version had one NPC and another version had another. Because both Iris and Drayden showed up in Black and White, and they changed who was the gym leader, Palpalucid, but it was still the same fight. And it was still, like, those NPCs were still in the game. It means White's the better version because Iris does more for the plot anyway. Anyway. Anything else to really talk about? Once again, I'm glad Apricorn's coming back. I'm glad we're getting new Pokemon in Sword and Shield, because so many people were so mad about that. New Galarian forms as expected. New Gigantamax Pokemon as expected. I'm hoping we get better Ghost-type Gigantamax forms, because Gengar's a disappointment to me personally. Mega Gengar was just better. there seems to be a recurring trend of making Gengar sunk into the floor, which is kind of funny. But aside from that, once again, they're going to be adding 200 plus new Pokemon. And since we do see a graveyard area, we do have at least a decent chance for some good ghost types coming back. My fingers are crossed for... Well, I got most of the really good ones, but my fingers are crossed for Mismagius personally. And Bayonet, of course. Because those are like the only two that I can think of that aren't in the game that I'm a big fan of the design and or usage of. Honestly, it's just designed for those two. Most of the Pokemon I would actually use for Ghost type are already in the game. So, and since I think it's a safe bet, we're going to be getting Magius. We're also going to be getting Honchkrow. I'm okay with, because I really like the Murkrow line as well. I know I'm only talking about specific Pokemon, but yeah. Sandel should probably be coming back, which that's good, because that means I'm actually going to be able to properly weigh Appleton versus the Crocodile line, which is something I'm kind of still up in the air about on which one's my favorite, and I'd have to have them both side by side in order to tell for sure. But I'm very certain Appleton's as opposed to Crocodile. But anyway, if that isn't the case, then that's okay, because once again, Crocodile has been in every Pokemon game since Black and White. Every one of them excluding Let's Go. Which is ridiculous. It's hilarious, but it sucks. Like, part of my game plan with Omega Ruby is once, like, my team is a hodgepodge in that game. It's disgusting. But my game plan is once I get my hands on once I beat the legendary and catch it, I'm planning to get a Sandile, add that to the party, train it up, and then go do the Elite Four stuff. Because that ground dark type is going to take out if I can get Brick Break, it's going to take out over half the Elite Four. And the champion. Which is disgusting. Like, seriously. Ground Dark is such a good type. It's almost overpowered. And the fact that you've got so much versatility for extra moves to learn, specifically from Crocodile, is like, you have access to fighting, you have access to dragon, you have access to rock. Think a little steel because of your ground type. No. And then of course you've got dark. Got normal. What's a normal move? Let's be honest here. Who wants a normal type move? Okay. And once again, I still haven't played Sword and Shield, so I don't have a lot of opinion on the game itself. But hopefully, like I said, this will help the game feel a lot less rushed by adding new content. Hopefully that new content's not going to feel as rushed as the base game does. And anyone who is new to Sword and Shield after that DLC's come out, if they pick it up alongside the game, which they should, because that's so much more game to play. I don't know. I genuinely do not know. Okay. I think this ramble has gone on long enough. Just to wrap things up, I like where things are going. Because I feel like we need more out of Mystery Dungeon, because that's probably the best series Pokemon, like that's probably the best side series Pokemon has now. And I'm glad that they've changed up how they usually do the third version thing, or the sequel alternate universe takes. So I just genuinely like how they're changing how they're doing things. But I still genuinely think that Game Freak needs more time to work on the game. And this doesn't look like a step in the right. So once again, this will give them more time to put more resources towards the next game. But there's a lot less resources than there were before there was a new game coming out every year, because they're still working on new content for this one. And I know the next Pokemon game's already in development. I just don't want it to come out next year. I want it to come out in 2022. And my reason for that is because of how much backlash Sword and Shield has gotten, in spite of the fact that it seems, from a lot of people's perspective, to be a really good game with some noteworthy hiccups. And the Pokemon fandom is suffering, bro. Whether you realize it or not. Because a lot of us, the Pokemon team seems to realize that a lot of the people who play their games now are adults. What they don't seem to realize is, because a lot of their bigger fans are adults, there's a lot less time that can be put into the games on our end. And if a new game's coming out every year, then that means we're going to be either lagging behind, rushing the game, ruins a lot of the fun, for me at least, or they're not going to sell as well. Because who wants to be playing catch up, not enjoy themselves, and then have to do it all over again next year? What the fuck? Who wants that? Who wants that? But I think the root of that problem is that, and I don't have any real answers to how to stop that, but we just need to stop being so complacent about it. And I don't know the right answer to correct that, because if we don't purchase the new games, in spite of the things that they're doing better, then Game Freak or the Pokemon Company International might see that as, oh, we did everything wrong here, let's try a new approach. And they're going to try the wrong. I think the only thing we can do is just make a big and continuous uproar about there being a bigger gap between Pokemon experiences. And once we make a big enough noise that we are heard, maybe we'll see some change. Anyway, I think that's going to be everything out of me on my end. So, thanks to the 2 people who actually watched this video all the way through to the end. And I'll see you guys when I see you guys.